Hello everyone and welcome to my review of the Hormuz Freedom Campaign for the AV-8B Night Attack Harrier in DCS World. So I just finished the full playthrough of this on my channel, and as normal I wanted to put up a video kind of summarising my thoughts, how I felt the campaign was to play. And so just to put this out there, it wasn't the best campaign, it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't great. It was really just okay. Could have been a lot better, but there were lots of issues that really let this down. First off, though, the good, because there is a lot of good with this campaign. I really like the setting, this fictional war between the US and Iran post 9/11. Really good idea, really believable. And really good way of leveling these two powers to make the US just not completely dominate Iran, being this whole setting that the US can't use any of its land-based aircraft because of pressure by their allies, and so are forced to rely solely on one aircraft carrier group. Really good way at making this feel a bit more of an even match. The missions are also all interesting and varied. Towards the second half there is a bit of repetition in the missions, but in general all of the missions are different, and even the ones that are repeating, they are different enough that it doesn't feel like hashing over the exact same thing once again. And very nicely, there are no do-nothing missions. These are found in so many campaigns, and they really get on my nerves. The kind of mid-campaign mission where you just fly, do nothing for ages, and then land again. Those really mess with the pacing of the campaign, and this doesn't have that. All of the missions, you are doing something, you're doing something interesting, and there is always some degree of challenge to all of them. Missions are also not unnecessarily long, which I do like. A lot of campaigns seem to have missions with large pauses in them where you're not doing much before the actual action happens. This one is generally straight to the point. The vast majority of the time you're going straight to the target, engaging the target, getting back, not wasting the player's time. And all of that I do really approve of, really appreciate, and certainly this was definitely not a boring campaign. So that all sounds positive, but of course there is a but. And the biggest issue is the campaign seriously needs a lot of polish done to it. A lot of the missions are one way or another broken or unbalanced. Main issue being the campaign's massive over-reliance on AI-allied aircraft playing mission-critical roles, normally either escorting the player or doing SEAD strikes that the player needs to be accomplished completely. The problem there is DCS AI is not reliable, and it's especially not reliable with several patches down the line. And so although I'm sure this campaign was 100% playable when it first launched, right now there are many missions that I've had to skip or that have had really unsatisfactory results because the AI just messes up. The AI flight that's supposed to be escorting me is nowhere to be seen. The AI flight that's supposed to be doing SEAD over the target just absolutely fumbles and does not do its job. Now, the campaign dev has actually been in touch. He is working on the campaign, and I really do appreciate that. I really like that the dev is still involved. And so hopefully these issues will be addressed. But the reason why I'm still bringing this up is even if they do get fixed now, it doesn't really fix that underlying problem that the campaign is massively reliant on the AI. And so that's just asking for a future patch to go and break everything again. Either an AI tweak or a missile balance patch, which suddenly makes it so these AI flights can't get through. Now, I've played loads of campaigns before that have non-played forces involved, but they're always handled a lot differently. Generally, either they have such an excess advantage that they will get through no matter what balance changes affect things, or it is all heavily scripted. Really good one there from the last campaign I did, the Fear the Bones campaign, had a massive joint allied airstrike which we were part of. The actual Allied airstrike part was pretty much just scripted. All of the voice lines were just scripted in the background. Ships just exploded in the background. It didn't make any impact on you if the actual AI did their job or not. And then on top of these just downright broken sections, there are a lot of really weird, questionable design decisions. And a few are just simple mistakes, like the voices calling out west instead of east, giving you wrong directions, things that have clearly been edited but then not quite gotten into the final version. Then others are just simple decisions that the campaign dev has made, which just don't really add to the fun of the campaign. One that bothered me quite a bit is the fact that there always seems to be low cloud cover over the major targets on many, many missions. And that would be fine if that was meant to make you dive to a lower altitude, but you're strictly not supposed to dive to a lower altitude because the enemy areas are covered in manpads specifically to force you to higher altitudes, so it just means you're blind. It just makes the attacks awkward instead of being fun, and it's also a little bit weird seeing completely blue skies other than this one patch directly above the target you're meant to be hitting. The other big one that bothered me is the weapon loadouts just seem badly chosen for each mission. They've certainly made an effort to have varied weapon loadouts, which is all well and good, but they don't seem to match the mission description at all. You're given things like dumbfire bombs on missions where you're supposed to be hitting moving targets, or dropping bombs from incredibly high altitude with no form of guidance on them. And then on top of that, even when they make sense, there's just variety in the weapons for no real reason. Like the seeming insistence that if you have two Mavericks, one is always a laser Maverick, the other is an IR Maverick, which is really challenging because their employment is completely different. If there are two IR Mavericks, that would be fine and easy to rifle them both away. If they were both laser Mavericks, that would at least be consistent. Instead, you're messing around, changing what you're doing mid-attack run, and it's just awkwardness for the sake of awkwardness there. I think this is pretty much summarised in my views of the final mission, where inexplicably your JDAMs are two regular and two laser JDAMs, with real no need for the laser whatsoever, so the only difference in having two of them equipped with lasers is that then all of a sudden you can't release all four at once, in what would have been a really cool moment, but instead now just gives you this added task of then going back in, reacquiring, firing them off again. And the last issue, which I'm surprised I'm bringing up, but other people have also brought it up in the comments, and it did grate on me, is the voice acting. It's kind of weird because the vast majority of the voice acting is actually good. Some of them are adequate, some of them are actually really good voice actors that they've got on. The problem is the player voice actor, his voice absolutely grates. He delivers every line with this artificial intensity which rarely actually matches what he's meant to be saying. Comes off as a weird cartoonish caricature of a military man rather than someone you can actually believe. And I swear if I have to hear him say, "shove a Sidewinder down its throat" one more time, I am going to go insane. Then other than that, it's just a lot of minor quality of life things, such as frequencies being incorrect or simply missing. Briefings having the waypoints not actually at the target location, even though it's a pre-scouted target and you should know exactly where it is. Just little things that really should have been picked up in a final pass before this went live. So yeah, for me it's a pass, and it is a bit of a shame because it could have been a lot better with a little more polish, a little more love. I certainly didn't hate the campaign, I got through it fine, and a lot of the reason for that is the missions are at least interesting, even if so many are broken or just weird. They were at least fun, they didn't take too long to do, so it was okay to kind of bash my head through it again and again and again, but it certainly isn't something I would have finished if I hadn't been recording it. And ultimately, a lot of the problems aren't that awful. and it would be absolutely fine as a free campaign that you could get from a user-made mission file. If that was the case, I'd give this glowing marks, but it's not free. It costs $11 US. That is a fair chunk of money for something that just doesn't have the polish there. When I'm getting these paid campaigns, I'm kind of expecting a level of quality above what you'd expect to find just off of the user files. This one really doesn't seem to justify being a paid module. But yeah, those are my thoughts, that's my opinion. Please do let me know what you thought down below. If you think this campaign is a lot better than I'm giving it credit for, if you have any other issues with this campaign, do let me know. Otherwise, next week we will be starting a new campaign. I don't know what that will be at time of recording, but you will probably know by the time this video goes live. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching through this campaign, and I hope to catch you in a future one. Until next time, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.